Good evening, observers of the unknown, and welcome to the Midnight Fire. Do you remember old televisions, before blue screens and no signal messages? There was just a static. A chaotic dance of black and white dots, accompanied by a relentless hiss. We were told it was nothing, just empty space. But human beings are pattern-seeking animals. We stare into chaos until we see order. But what happens when the chaos stares back? Tonight's story is a slow descent into the madness hiding between the frequencies. Adjust your tracking. It's going to get blurry. Arthur wasn't a social man. He preferred the company of dead media. He was an archivist of the obsolete, collecting things the digital world had thrown away. He found comfort in the tactile hum of old machinery. His latest acquisition was a behemoth, a 1978 floor-model television set, salvaged from an estate sale of a recluse who had vanished decades ago. When Arthur plugged it in late one Tuesday night, it didn't pick up modern digital broadcasts. It only cycled through the dead UHF band, channel after channel of raw, abrasive static. But on channel U66, the hiss was different. It had a rhythm, like breathing. At first, Arthur dismissed it as pareidolia, the mind's trick of seeing faces in clouds. But the longer he left channel U66 running in the background of his basement lab, the harder it became to ignore. The static wasn't random. The black dots seemed to cluster in the center of the screen, forming a vague, upright shape, a silhouette. It was barely perceptible, like a shadow trapped behind a blizzard. Arthur, driven by a dangerous curiosity, started recording the screen with his camcorder, trying to analyze the signal frame by frame. He found that the silhouette only appeared when he was alone in the room. The visual anomaly was disturbing, but the audio was worse. Arthur began filtering the white noise, stripping away the high frequencies. Underneath the roar of the static, there was something else, a very low-frequency sound, almost subsonic. It sounded like a wet, guttural murmuring. He couldn't make out words, but the tone was undeniably hateful. He realized that the rhythm he had heard earlier wasn't breathing, it was sobbing, thousands of overlapping, quiet sobs coming from the speakers. And then, one night, a single, clear word cut through the noise, spoken in a voice that sounded like tearing metal. Arthur, the barrier was breaking. The static wasn't staying on the screen anymore. Arthur started seeing the grain in real life. The corners of his vision looked pixelated. His microwave would turn on by itself, humming with the same frequency as channel U66. His digital clocks would glitch, displaying U66 instead of the time. He tried to unplug the television, but when he pulled the cord from the wall, the TV didn't turn off. The silhouette on the screen was now crisp, defined. It was the man in the static. And he wasn't just standing there anymore. He was pressing his hands against the inside of the glass screen. The night it ended, the basement was filled with a deafening roar. Every piece of electronic equipment Arthur owned turned on simultaneously, blasting the same sobbing static. The floor model TV was vibrating violently. The man in the static was no longer a 2D image. He was pushing through, his form composed of millions of biting, cold ants of static electricity. He grabbed Arthur. The touch burned like dry ice. Arthur realized that the channel wasn't receiving a broadcast. It was sending one. And it needed a new subject. The police found the basement trashed. The old TV imploded. Arthur was gone. They said he must have had a breakdown and run off. But sometimes, if you find an old analog radio and tune it between stations late at night, you might hear something under the hiss. A voice that sounds familiar, crying for help, trapped forever in the space between signals. Thank you for enduring the broadcast with us on the Midnight Fire. Subscribe, and maybe keep your digital devices off tonight. You never know who's trying to tune in. Good night.